I'm sharing a reading experience. I'm reading from a book called Gone, and I'm sharing it with you now. Today, I'll go through April 16th to the 23rd. I hope you listen and receive something worthwhile from this. This video might inspire you to read this book. It's my hope that you'll search from the best books and gain information and ideas to help you to become a better person. The more you read, the better you'll think, and the better you think, the more you'll be able to face life's challenges successfully. April 16th. Back in pioneer days, David and Anna, my grandparents, lived in Iowa. Their children included Lula, Tom, my mother Flossie, Bill, Rosie, Harvey, Hallie, and Anna Faye, who we called Aunt Faye. David was a farmer and challenged his sons Tom and Bill to see who could get their chicken eggs to hatch first. Uncle Bill left his eggs in the chicken house, but Uncle Tom put his nest with his eggs under the front porch. Tom began to ask questions. What makes eggs hatch? Grandma Anna told him, the mother hen sits on the eggs to keep them warm, and that helps them to grow. Uncle Tom asked Grandpa David, when will they hatch? David told him, when they grow big enough. Tom thought to himself, if they get warm enough, they'll hatch first because they will grow faster. So he got himself some matches and set a fire to his nest. The mother hen ran away, and Tom's mother and brothers and sisters helped put out the fire. Tom got a lesson on patience that day. April 17th. In 1934, our family moved down by the lake in Sandpoint. All of us children would catch fish that Mama would then cook. Mama wouldn't cook the bullhead fish, so Elby would build a fire on the beach and we'd fry the bullhead and roast potatoes for ourselves. That was good eating. We named our house on the lake the boathouse because it looked like a house built on a dock for boats. Its foundation was stilts and it had an open basement. At the time, Papa was working for Mr. Heblin's grocery to pay for the $6 a month rent. Mama had to learn how to make poor man's food like tapioca and macaroni. Yes, we did miss the good foods we once had, but Mama learned to make do with whatever was at hand. We lived like Little House on the Prairie. April 18th. In 1936, we moved from the boathouse to 1107 Oak. Papa worked for Mr. Buck for groceries and the $4 a month for rent. At that time, Elby was working as a logger and he would pay me a dime to pull off his logging boots. There were some interesting people on Oak Street. When we first moved there, we had a neighbor, Mr. Maybe, who seemed like a nice enough man, but rumor had it he had killed a man. After Mr. Maybe left, the Dane moved in. The Dane would give Papa his paper when he got through reading it. April 19th. Grandpa David invented some kind of watering system that Uncle Bill told us was still there in the 1950s when he visited Iowa. One day, when my mama and her father David went to draw some water for the cattle, David hitched the horses to the windmill and drove them around and around to draw the water. His foot got caught in a mechanism and he yelled, "Whoa!" and then he fainted. His collie was held by Mama. The collie wanted to go to David, but Mama sat down and held the collie tight tears streaming down her face. The collie broke loose and ran to lick David's face. He came to and released his foot. Mama was so glad to see her Poppy was all right. They had a good life in Iowa. April 20th. Mama used to tell us to always build well. When Papa was building our house, he put in a strong foundation. We were so thankful for righteous parents that used to practice good building skills and were practical examples that taught us well. Our Noble Family by Dorothy Bell. We're from noble families that we know, the blood of Caesars and crowns, but what gives us names free of shame? What names frees us from all the blame? We follow noble names, heroes of standards high. We feel they look towards what we will bravely do. They stood the sternest trials, and we will too. Though the way be long, we'll not wrong the name. We'll follow noble examples rather than stoop to shame. They were bold and brave. They gave us the truth, the pride of having a noble and godly name. And we must keep in mind, keep it sublime. We'll carry on the name they gave, letting it shine like the monarch's crown. And as fair as it was when it came to us, it must be when we hand it down. April 20th. One of Mama's songs she would sing to us went, "Hush, be still as any mouse. There's a baby in the house. Not a dolly, not a toy, but a laughing, crying boy. He's a darling baby, too, with his eyes so brightly blue, curly hair and rosy lips, dainty hands and fingertips. So hush, be still as any mouse. There's a baby in the house." April 22nd. Once, Elby and some friends of his decided to skip school and go fishing instead. That afternoon, at about the time he would normally get home, he came with several of the fish he had caught. Mama said, "Where did you get all those fish?" It came out that Elby didn't go to school. Mama spanked him and hung the fish on the side of the house until they had to be thrown out and buried. Mama would show everyone that came to our house the fish and would say, "It's too bad we can't eat them." Elby never skipped school again. April 23rd. You don't remember much when you are so very young, but I remember when Grandma Sarah Jane died, when I was 4 years old. A year before, she had let me dash the churn in the front porch. It made me feel so important. I remember her caring for Linville on her lap. I remember her wearing a long blue calico dress and matching sunbonnet with buttoned shoes. Grandma Sarah Jane was so happy when Linville was born, but 3 months later she suddenly died. Grandma Sarah Jane's death certificate stated she had died of senility. Apparently, they put this on all old people's death certificates in those days. My brother Elby, who was the family's oldest boy, told me Grandma Sarah Jane was never senile. I remember when she was taking care of Linville in 1926. In March of that year, she had a pain in her side and her abdomen hurt. She was in pain for about a month or so as her family members cared for her. One day, Mama went over to Aunt Lula's and then to town to buy some groceries. When Mama came back home, Papa was standing on the porch and Mama knew Grandma Sarah Jane had died. Papa said, "Mother's gone." Mama wished she wished she hadn't gone out that day. I remember the mortuary putting Grandma in a big long casket and taking her away. They buried her at Lakeside Cemetery. You don't forget something like that. I was told that when Grandma Sarah Jane was 12 years old in 19 or 1860, she saw President Lincoln in a parade or at a train station. I can't remember which. But it was about this time in her life that her mother had died. Her father had remarried, and Sarah Jane couldn't stand to see her father's second wife using her mother's things. So she left home and moved in with an older sister. Grandma Sarah Jane could not write or read very well, yet she could recite every passage from the Bible. She liked to sing, sew, and was an excellent knitter. She would card to make her own yarn and had all the skills for homesteading and homemaking, such as cooking, milking cows, and hitching horses. My mama used to say that her husband's family was kind and they were good homemakers. Sarah Jane was small with brown eyes and hair. She was gentle, wise, and honest. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, farewell whilst we're apart.